adequately capture what it's like to be up here. You can kind of imagine what it's like to float all the time, but until you're doing it 24 hours a day, it doesn't really meet your expectations. So up here, I would say, one, it's a lot more interesting, a lot more fun to float all the time, but it's a lot more challenging than you might think because you're always having to find ways to stabilize yourself, and you really have to keep up with all your stuff, because if you don't put it someplace very carefully, it is going to float away and you're going to spend 2 days looking for it. So yes, it's kind of like what we expect, but not entirely, and it's a great place to be.
I am Valeria Sara. I'm 15 years old. It is an honor to contact you from the UEJVR in Guayaquil, Ecuador. The question we would like to ask is the following. How important is it to get schools involved in space education? And how can our school help promote this educational approach? Thank you very much. We look forward to your response.
Thank you. That is a wonderful question. We think it's incredibly important. Shannon and I are doing this event with all of you because we think this is so incredibly important to get young people involved in space and space science. There's a lot of things that we do up here that actually students can participate. We do things like CubeSats. We actually launch satellites from the International Space Station, and university students can work on these. We have projects that high school students can work on. So there's a great project. It's called Hunch that actually some local area high schools participate in. I was just using one of their items today. They design things that are going to be useful to astronauts, and they fly them up onto the space station. So it's I think one of the most important things that Space Station can do is serve as an outreach tool to young people. And certainly if you're interested in space science, you can go to the nasa.gov website, and there are all kinds of projects that your school can do, that you can do with your friends, and that you can get people in other schools interested in. At any grade level, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And if you get a chance, fly us an experiment up to Space Station. We would love to work on it.
Hi, I'm Vian. I'm 6 years old. I'm in elementary school, and I want to ask you, does your hair get tangled in space?
Does our hair get tangled in space? That is an excellent question. Maybe not as much on the ground. I don't know. We don't have the wind up here, so that's not going to tangle our hair. But look at Kate's hair. It just floats around. I keep mine in a ponytail, so it doesn't get stuck on Velcro and get into things. But your hair can be a lot of fun up here for sure.
My name is Grace, and I attend Holy Family Primary near Glasgow, Scotland. My question is, do you have to keep a record of the space debris in orbit, and can it be dangerous to the space station?
That's a really good question. It's actually a really important one. We do have issues with space debris. So when we launch things, for example, rocket fairings can sometimes fall back to Earth, but sometimes they stay in orbit. When satellites are at the end of their service life, they can stay in orbit. Sometimes they collide and they make a lot of space debris. So this is a concern. There's a lot of people that monitor space debris on the ground, and if we have an object that's big enough, we'll make sure that the space station avoids that so we don't have a possible collision. But it's hard to track all of these objects, and so this is something, if you guys are interested in what the future of space is, learning about space debris and how to avoid space debris, how to plan for it, how to make sure that we build our satellites in a sustainable and renewable fashion so that we plan for those satellites to come back to the Earth, to burn up, and not to litter the atmosphere and to litter the orbit with space debris. So there's a whole field out there. We have a lot of people working on it, but we definitely can use some more smart people thinking about this.
Greetings, I'm Santiago Kuhn from Unidad Educativa Javier in Guayaquil, Ecuador. I'm 12 years old. I would like to ask the following question to the astronauts. How can experiments such as the one conducted with the seeds will contribute with our goal of living in space? It is a pleasure to contact you.
Houston ACR, can you help?
Station, this is Houston ACR. The question is, how can experiments such as the one conducted with the seeds contribute to our goal of living in space?
Ah, yes, seeds. Very good question. It is so important for us to learn how to grow plants in space, because if we're going to take long trips, say to Mars, we're not going to want to eat packaged food the whole time. We're going to need a way to grow our own food. And so we've actually done a lot of experiments up here. We've got some plants going right now. So we're looking at how do you adequately water the plants? How do you get plants the nutrition they need so they can grow properly and produce food for us? So it is amazingly important, and it's just something that we're only taking the baby steps at now, but we really need to figure it out so we can get more places in our solar system with people.
Hi, my name is Sasha Mackay and I attend Preston Academy in Scotland. My question is, do you have a time zone? Does it affect your everyday lifestyle or your sleeping pattern? Thank you.
Station, this
And
is
Houston ACR, sorry.
Station, this is Houston ACR. The question is, what is your time zone and how does it affect your sleeping pattern and daily routine?
Thank you. Yes, we are on Greenwich Mean Time, so we're about London time. We picked that time early on in the space station days. We've got control centers all over the world, and so we had to pick a time artificially to be on. And this is about halfway in between Houston and Moscow times, and so it's staffed 24/7 in all these different control centers. So we kind of stay on this sort of European London time zone, and we shift when we get up here, and we just stay on that unless we have a visiting vehicle coming. If we have something docking to the space station, we might need to get up in the middle of the night because of the way it launches and orbital phasing. We have 16 sunrises and sunsets a day. Mostly we're actually inside, though, and we have artificial light. This can affect your circadian rhythm negatively. One of the new things we've done recently is put lights up that have different wavelengths, and so we can adjust it to have less blue light in the evening when we're trying to sleep and more blue light in the morning, and that helps some of our circadian rhythm adapt. But it is one of the big challenges that we have in space.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Davis, and I'm a student at Michael E. DeBakey High School for Health Professions. And my question is, how do astronauts from multiple countries collaborate in spaceflight for scientific advancement?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. How do we collaborate up here? Well, this is the International Space Station, so one of the ways that we do it is by having international astronauts. Right now, our crew is composed of 4 American astronauts, 1 Japanese astronaut, and 2 Russian astronauts, and we all work together to accomplish the science up here. So, for example, right now, one of the partnerships that we have for the International Space Station is the European Space Agency. Well, there is no European astronaut up here, so we work with the European experiments to make sure that their science is accomplished. If, say, in the future we don't have a Japanese astronaut, well, we will all, whoever else is up here, will do the Japanese experiments. So we work together to accomplish great things.
Well, that was brilliant. My name is David Alexander. I'm the director of the Space Institute at Rice University in Houston, Texas. And I'd like to thank NASA, Dr. Rubens, Colonel Hopkins, and of course, all of our young participants who made today such a special event. Thank you all.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
ground propellant feed terminated.
And right at 35 seconds, the first umbilical tower separating the vehicle on internal power. We'll have auto sequence start. So the ground propellant feed to the rocket has now completely terminated.
Auto sequence initiated.
Second umbilical separated, 15 seconds from launch.
Launch command for ignition. Second umbilical tower separates.
And we see booster ignition.
Engines at maximum thrust.
And liftoff. Soyuz MS-18 on its way to the International Space Station.
10 seconds. The booster parameters are nominal. Everything is good on board.
Hearing nominal performance, the first stage delivering 930,000 pounds of thrust from those 4 first stage boosters and the single core engine.
30 seconds into the flight, the parameters of the booster are nominal. Everything is fine on board. 40 seconds, the vehicle is stable. Everything is good on board.
Continuing to hear good performance calls. A quick look inside the capsule. You can see the crew strapped in and monitoring displays as they continue on their way uphill. Just past the 1-minute mark into flight.
Pitch, yaw, and roll are nominal. 70 seconds into the flight. Everything is nominal. We are good on board.
At this point, the space station had already flown over the Baikonur Cosmodrome and now making its way in front of the Soyuz spacecraft.
The crew is feeling well.
Roughly 90 seconds into flight, the Soyuz rocket already moving more than 2,100 miles per hour, already about 10 miles downrange.
Into the flight, all parameters of the booster are nominal. The crew is feeling well at 10:44, unintelligible. Okay, you received the message about the casual parameters. Copy.
And right on time, we see first stage separation, the Koryoff cross, those 4 strap-on boosters separating. Now the single core stage continuing to power the Soyuz spacecraft into flight.
Copy.
Just before that, the launch escape tower was also jettisoned. Soyuz does maintain escape capability all the way to flight, though, at this stage able to use for a short time small boosters on the shroud itself, and then once the shroud detaches, able to use boosters on the spacecraft.
So the shroud jettison is confirmed. We have controlled descent.
And so we heard confirmation the launch shroud has jettisoned. In this animation, you can see the Soyuz spacecraft now exposed, continuing under the power of the second stage.
180 seconds into the flight, vehicle stabilization is performing nominally, and the crew is feeling well. Copy.
Потому что у нас время ограничено, и потом быстренько нужно в СМ переходить.
And there we see hatch open. Hatch coming open at 8:20 a.m. Central Time, 13:20 GMT. The station flying 270 statute miles over the South Pacific. Oleg Novitsky first through the door, the Soyuz commander, making his third trip to the International Space Station. Just behind him, the newcomer, the rookie amongst them, Pyotr Dubrov, making his first flight into space. And then last but certainly not least, we'll get it there, we see Mark Vande Hei making his second flight, his second long-duration stay on board the International Space Station. And then with that, all three crew members through the hatch, all three crew members now on board the station. Expedition 64 at 10 people strong.
Moscow, this is Kazbeki. Yes, go ahead. Just to be clear, we need to return to the Soyuz now for a little while, or go to the service module. Well, please get back to the Soyuz and